Well, as you can see, we are back in the shop after our visit with QA1, all the way up in Minnesota. A little bit of a drive back to Georgia, but we've got the car back here safe and sound. It's up on the lift, and we're finally gonna change out those rear shocks, do some new bracketry, and utilize all those good parts that QA1 gave us to replace all this old junk that obviously didn't work. Because if you look right up in there, this thing punched the frame rail super hard. Luckily, I moved the brake lines out of the way, so they didn't get damaged, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull these 40-year-old coilovers off of this thing and make some room for the new hotness. Here we go. There we go, got that side cut to match the other side. I did leave my top hole intact just in case I ever need it. Granted, there's not a lot of meat on it there, but I am gonna get a flap disc and smooth out these edges a little bit, so if they do come up and hit the frame, it's not like a sharp point. So yeah, I'll get to that. So here on the table, we've got our fully assembled QA1 coilovers that are going on the rear. Double adjustable, that's the key. We can adjust compression and rebound separately from each other. You have 18 clicks of compression, 18 of rebound, and that allows you to really dial in the suspension to be acting like it should. So we got a 130-pound spring, I believe, if I remember correctly. And I cannot recommend QA1 enough. They are one of the best companies I've ever worked with. And what's really crazy is they offer a limited lifetime warranty on all of their shocks. So for the life of the shock that you have on your vehicle, if it just wears out or something goes wrong with it, they will rebuild it if you send it to them. So these are replacing these ancient Coney coilovers that were on the car that don't have any adjustment. So that's gonna be a huge improvement. So I'm gonna get these bolted on the rear of the car, and then we'll get that thing off the lift and see how it sits on the ground. There we go. Just like that, the new QA1 coilovers are in. I did have to adjust the upper bar a little bit to get it to clear the axle housing back here. So this is definitely temporary and is gonna be revisited for sure. But for now, this should do the trick and should work pretty nicely on making this thing actually be able to be adjustable on the track and making it hook up and actually get a decent 60 foot. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. We'll have to get it on the ground and dial in the ride height. But for now, I actually have to get the Javelin off the lift and get to work on the El Camino because I'm going autocrossing with it tomorrow and I need to bleed the brakes. So yeah, I'm gonna push this to the side for now, but I'm definitely super happy with how these look under here. It definitely changes the overall look a ton and makes it look a lot more modern. So pretty sweet. Let's get this thing down and pull it out of the shop. Moby's not so sure what to think of this one. A little too loud for you, buddy? He's mostly deaf, so I think it freaks him out when he hears loud noises because he doesn't hear much anymore. But Dan's a good boy, supervising as always. So I'm gonna pull it the rest of the way out of the shop so I can get the Elko in here, and then next time you see the Javelin, hopefully we'll be at the drag strip making some more licks. So there's the new suspension. Now it's time to go test it. I apologize in advance. It's gonna be loud. There's your good boy. Basically, we're getting the car ready to take it to Silver Dollar Motorsports Park. We got Moby supervising, as always. And me and my buddy David, along with my dad, we're gonna go down and make some hits on the car and see how it does with the new coilovers, because hopefully we can actually get this thing dialed in now rather than fighting the rear suspension doing what it was doing. So anyway, working on getting some lights on the car. So I got tail lights, and I'm also working on front lights as well. They're just hooked up with some random spare wiring at this point, but I'm running a wire from my switch panel all the way up here. So we'll have front marker lights, rear tail lights, and that way we'll be able to race this thing at night and be able to see the car, or other people will be able to see the car, I guess I should say. Next time you guys see us, we'll be at the racetrack unloading the car. So hopefully things go well.
Man, don't be trashing up the neighborhood. Classing up or trashing up?
Had to make a stop to pick up my father because he's coming along for the trip down to Silver Dollar. But as you can see, we got the car loaded on the trailer behind the service truck. So we got all our tools and parts and whatever we need if the car breaks, because that's always a chance when you're going racing.
Hopefully we don't need any of that, but hey, woo! Beautifying that car. This will make all the old men look at it anyway. She's only 100 years old.
What is?
You. No, she turns 90 years old in 9 days.
I should tell him BS.
Born in 1933.
Amen to that.
She ain't no spring chicken, but she's still getting along all right.
Well, here we go. We officially made it to Silver Dollar Motorsports Park. Got a beautiful sunset going off in the distance and working on getting the Javelin unloaded off the trailer. So my dad is serving as my assistant tonight, which is wonderful.
Lovely
assistant slash crew chief. So Steve over at QA1 sent me over the specs of what to run on the double adjustable shocks, just to kind of figure out what's going on, give me a baseline. So we're at 11 clicks of compression on the front, with 2 clicks of rebound, and the rear is going to be 14 clicks of compression with 6 clicks of rebound. And then we'll basically take slow-mo video of the car leaving and then send those to him, and he's going to tell us what it's doing, right or wrong. You want basically the first movement of the wheel to be down, and then you want it to slowly come back up, and that way you're actually driving the bottom of the tire into the track. A lot of people think you want the car to squat, but you actually want the tire to separate from the rear of the car, or the suspension to separate down.
Yeah, sure.
It seems weird to think that you want the suspension to drop rather than the car squatting and going, but that's the way drag racing works. So as you can see under the back of the car, it's super easy to get to these shocks and actually make adjustments on them. We're still running the single shear mount with the upper mount that John Dover made. We're going to be changing that in the future and doing the adjustable brackets that QA1 gave us, as well as moving that upper bar slightly up and back so that we have more room between the coilover and the axle. But for now, this will work just fine. So let me get out these specs. And if you need a how-to video, that QA1 video on how to tune your rear shocks at the drag strip is a really good one. But as you can see, 14 clicks of compression and 6 clicks of rebound. So it's pretty easy. These are all the way on the soft side right now. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then we're gonna do 6 on the rebound side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now I have to do the same thing to the other side. And in theory, they're good to go. So we're gonna get this thing unloaded off the trailer and go through tech and hopefully make a couple passes tonight and see how it does. Made the drive over to tech. Kind of feels like it's missing a little bit though.
That thing is loud.
I think it needs to clear its throat a little bit. It hasn't been ran hard enough. It's a race car, you gotta open it up.
There you go.
But yeah, it's a little noisy. Awesome. So we made it through tech. They had one issue that we didn't have an air cleaner and we aren't running our hood because our hood tries to fly off. But we made a little, thank you. We made a little loop to merge the vent tubes together because they want you to have a closed carburetor. I don't know if that's going to count, but hey, at least we tried. I'm sure we can steal an air cleaner from somebody if we have to, but we were only launching at 2,500 RPM prior when we were racing this car, and that just wasn't enough for this thing. So we upped it to 3,500, not going to go for the full 4,500 that the guy who used to race this engine at Transcombo used to do, but 3,500, shocks are dialed in. We're going to go get the staging lanes and see what this thing runs, and also make sure it launches by getting a slow-mo video of what's going on. So fingers crossed it works.
And I have no idea what all this is, but yeah, it looks...
All we have here is this is the timing curve, so it might look like fancy, but basically we have our timing locked out. But if you wanted to build a timing curve, if you move this down, you're retarding the timing. And that way you can, you know, if you have nitrous even, so you have boost retard curve, so if you have a boost reference, you can have a nitrous one. So we're just basically locked out at 36 degrees of timing, launch RPM of 3,500, rev limiter of 7,500, and should be good to go.
There we go.
All right, gotta get my seatbelt situated. They just called our lanes, so hopefully I can remember what to do and I don't make a fool of myself.
You look like a pro.
I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. It's been how long? 3 months since we made a pass in the car? So hopefully I didn't forget everything. And now, in theory, we have good suspension on the car, so it should launch and leave. And I'm gonna have to be quick on my shifts and hopefully not screw that up. So, fingers crossed. We didn't die. It definitely went pretty hard right on me. which was a little exciting. Well, it's a little dark out. Luckily, we got one light up here, but man, that car left hard, drove right. Luckily, it didn't come completely out of the groove, so I was able to stay in it, but went hard right on me. So I'm gonna need to adjust some things for sure, but I don't know what it ran yet. Haven't seen the time slip, so let's go get the time slip. Car is still in one piece. I'm still in one piece, so that's a win. My hands are shaking like crazy because this thing's a freaking monster. It definitely felt like it left the hood bar.
10.8, you said?
Yeah.
10.8, what was it?
10.8 at 125.
What was the 8?
That's slower than Wisconsin.
10.6 was the best one.
10 seconds.
It was a 10.9, a 10.8, a 10.6.
Yeah, I mean, when a 687 to the 899. The 147 65 is really not too bad.
No, I mean, 3,500 RPM lead was definitely more aggressive, but
honestly, if the track was better, it'd probably do a 1.3 something 60 foot, which would probably put you back into that 1060 range.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about it, Jake?
I don't know yet. I need to talk to Steve, the expert at QA1. Send him a video of the car running. He'll tell me what's going on. But it drove pretty hard right, which was a little unnerving, but it did never get out of like where the good part of the track is, where the groove is, as we call it. So I wasn't up against the wall where there's no rubber, but I was able to correct it pretty easily and bring it back centered. And then it definitely was sketchier, I feel like, at the top end. Maybe the fact that we dropped the tire pressure a little bit, it's moving around a lot, which that's how big tire slick cars run anyway. But I was having to drive it instead of just like before in Wisconsin, we just sat there and it went straight. I didn't have to really do much steering it, but that one I was bringing it back to the center, and then it was kind of all over the place when I let off the throttle at the end too. So I don't know. It's also about what the rear suspension's doing.
Yeah.
So we need to watch that video and see if the rear tire's getting slammed into the ground or if the car is squatting. Because if the whole car squats, that means the suspension's kind of unloading, versus if it's just slamming the tire into the pavement and then wadding the tire up and then throwing the car forward. That's what you want it to do. So I don't know. It didn't kill me. Car's still in one piece. I'm still in one piece. So that's a good pass. And a 10.8 seems to run 10s right off the trailer every time.
Yeah.
So I know it's dark here, but my dad just walked all the way to the fuel station, which is like basically at the first turnoff for the drag strip. Yeah, at least a quarter mile. Yeah. And then brought back what, 5 or 6 gallons?
5 gallons, yeah.
5 gallons of VP 110, which we needed for the car.
It was $82, but it's still a lot cheaper than Starbucks coffee.
Yeah, as far as per gallon goes, I think that's definitely the case. But man, that was quite a burnout up there.
I feel like I'm in the freaking bush or something carrying a water jug for miles. Yeah. That would suck.
Yep. So we got to top off the car. Another thing that I need to do is double check the shock settings and make sure I actually put everything in right, because I couldn't really see what I was doing on the front. I'm going to double check that stuff, and then we'll make another lick. We have QA1 double adjustable shocks up here with stock coils. We're going to be swapping those out for coilovers in the future, but just to get the car on the track initially, we did the easiest thing you could do, which is do a QA1 double adjustable in the stock location. But I'm double checking to make sure I did the right thing with my settings. 1, 2. Yeah, that's all the way back. So I didn't have the compression right on this at all. I only had it click 2 times instead of 11 times. So that's probably part of the reason it drove right. That'll probably help it go straighter. Also, if you go back and watch the first pass, you can see that I actually shifted way early on the 1-2 shift, and I didn't actually even notice the RPM drop. So I think I'm gonna definitely rev out first gear and make sure that I'm getting the most out of that gear before I shift to second, and make sure second's actually working, because I'm starting to think that maybe second gear isn't doing what it's supposed to do. Maybe it's kind of left the chat. Hopefully that's not the case, but we're gonna go and make another pass and find out what's really going on after I double check the settings that are on the car right now. Should be good to go. I don't think the suspension came up and hit the frame. Other than that small mistake I made on adjusting the front shocks, I think the second pass is gonna do a little bit better, and hopefully I can actually get the 1-2 shift correct. I shifted early, and I don't know if it's actually working, because the last pass we made, it didn't shift into second like it should have. But I definitely shifted early on this one, and then shifted to third when it revved out. What I don't know if it was first or second. So we'll make make another run and run it all the way out in first gear and make sure that I get it right. But when it drove right, I think I shifted immediately, just instinct.
Freaked you out.
Just to keep it from, because if you shift, you take power away from the rear because your gearing changes. Therefore, you are able to drive the car more easily. So that's one thing you could do if you're in a wheelie as well, is shift a second versus, you know, lifting the throttle. You can shift and it'll oftentimes set itself down if you stay in the throttle versus lifting and slamming back down to the ground. So there's multiple different ways to control a car at a drag strip, and shifting to another gear quite often will save you if you're in a kind of a sketchy situation like I was. So I don't know if I did that by instinct or if I did it because I was worried about the second gear shift from the last run. So anyway, car's ready to go again. Well, we're back in the car for round 2. Got the tire pressures up just a little bit, and hopefully the settings on the shock actually correct this time. So we're gonna go make another lick at 3,500 RPM launch, and hopefully it goes straight and doesn't try to kill me, because that was a little sketchy, but it wasn't that bad ultimately. But last time we drove the car, it went dead straight up in Wisconsin, so let's see if we can make it do that again. Let's see where we're in.
So what's going on? The time's going the wrong direction.
Second gear's not doing anything.
And that's
which is what I was afraid of the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's not like the transmission's blown up. It's like second gear maybe isn't an adjustment or something. David was saying it might be a band in the Turbo 400. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
I don't speak inside automatic transmissions. Witchcraft and sorcery happens in there.
Yeah.
I just know that it bounced off the rev limiter when I shifted to second. Didn't do anything, so I brought it down to third. So we're only running first and third, which is not ever gonna go fast. No. But 60 foot was slower by about a tenth.
But if we don't have second, there's no need to keep running it.
Yeah, the only thing I could do is go out and make launches in first gear and dial in the short track and not run it out the end. But I really wanted to see if second gear was acting up like I thought.
Yeah.
And seems like it is, because that went straight to rev limiter rather than shifting. And I purposely hit the rev limiter because I wanted to make sure it didn't shift.
Yeah.
So I ran it out till it was not happy.
On the back of the trailer now.
You know, oh well.
I didn't know if you want to transfer.
That's what happens with race cars. Stuff breaks.
Jug or
but
not when you pour.
It's running good, just doesn't have second gear. So
yeah,
it's always something else to fix. We didn't really know anything about the transmission anyway, so the fact that it worked as well as it has after sitting for 30 years is kind of a win.
So we can get an AMC bell housing and get a standard Turbo 400, right?
Yeah, so we can keep this one as a spare, as a backup, and have it rebuilt. But really, we should probably get like an SFI case for the bell housing, and put a better transmission in it, and that way we can use any Turbo 400 rather than an AMC specific case.
That's what we need to do.
So, because right now this is a hard transmission to find.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see.
We need to do that before sick leave.
We have some things to figure out, but we did 60 foot of 1.4, which is not terrible. I was hoping for a 1.3 out of the car, which I'm sure it has in it with some more dialing in. But it's 10 o'clock, so we'll let the car cool down, make some decisions about what we're gonna do, and look at the slow-mo, look at the in-car, and see if I can learn anything from what happened. But all in all, can't complain about how it went. We improved the 60 foot, which was our goal, and now we just have to dial it in the rest of the way.
Yeah.
All right, so David's coming up here for a pass on the bottle. Last time we were out, it ran at 11.0. We're hoping to see it get into the 10s on this pass. Fingers crossed. And it was breaking up a little, and it still went at 10.55. That's awesome. I hope he still got that bell. Yeah. Hopefully he's still got a ring gear out back too. Good times here at Silver Dollar Motorsports Park.